Alright, we're on to chapter 14 in your book. It's working with formulas and functions in Excel. Most Excel workbooks are created to record and analyze data. Formulas and functions make it simpler and more accurate to perform this analysis. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up our data file Turner, which is located in your data files folder that I've put out in Blackboard for you. So we're going to go to Open Other Workbooks. We're going to search on our computer. It's on my desktop. Okay, it's in my Chapter 14 folder, Chapter Materials, and the Turner Excel SX file. Sorry for the lag, my computer's running slow. Okay, then we're going to go to File, Save As, we're going to go to we can just drop it back in that current folder, give it that path. And again, I'm sorry that it's running so slow. I'm going to save it as Turner Budget. Alright, in the documentation worksheet, switch to this worksheet, and where it has author and B3, you are going to enter your name. Alright, and then in the date cell you will put today's date. Alright, we're going to make the budget worksheet our active worksheet. Set your zoom to around 100-120% so you can see everything. We're going to select the range B9 through C9. Scroll up. B9 through C9. Wait. Right here. B9 through C9. And on the Home tab, in the Editing group, click the Auto Sum button. Right here. Alright, the sum function is inserted in both cells and the estimated income is calculated for the school and summer months. It should look like what you see here on my screen, or if you're just listening to the audio, it should look like figure 14-1 on page 455 in your book. Alright. We want to save. You always want to save often so that you don't lose your changes in case you lose power or something happens. You don't lose your changes. So far you have used what we call relative cell references. Relative reference is always interpreted in relation or relative to the location of the cell containing the formula. For example, when you enter the formula in cell B9 to sum the income for the school months, Excel interprets the cell references in that formula relative to the location of cell B9. In other words, Excel interprets the formula equals sum B6 through B8 as adding the values entered in the three cells directly above cell B9. So it's smart enough to realize where the numbers were in relation to this cell and then sum these when you tell it to auto sum, is what it's saying. It's smart enough to figure out where numbers are for it to auto sum. So we're going to use some relative references. We're going to keep working with this. If a formula is moved or copied to other cells, Excel uses the same interpretations of the cell references. Okay? It tries to find numbers around close to where you're putting the formula so that it knows which cells to pull from to create this sum. Alright. So if we scroll down so that we can view A26 through M34, this range lists the estimated monthly expenses by category for the coming year. In cell B34, you want to enter the formula equals sum B26 colon B33. Okay, and then accept that formula. Cell B34 displays 9025, the total value of all the cells in the range B26 to B33. January's estimated expenses are $9,025. Alright, you want to copy the formula in cell B34 to the clipboard. You can copy cell contents to more than one cell at once. Okay. You want to select the range C34, keep going, to M34. And on the Home tab, you want to click Paste. Okay. The formula in cell B34 is pasted into each of the cells in the selected range to calculate the estimated monthly expenses for the rest of the year. Review the total expenses for each month. Notice that January and August are particularly expensive months because the expenses include both tuition and purchases of books for upcoming semesters. Clicking each cell in the range and view the formula. Notice that the sum is pulling from C26 to C33. In D column, they're pulling from D26 to D33. Alright, so it pulls relative to where you're placing the formula. It didn't keep using the numbers from B to calculate for column E. Okay, it updated the formula. Hit Escape to get that blinking line out from around C34. Save your changes. So now we're going to talk about something called absolute references. Cell references that remain fixed when a formula is copied to a new location are absolute references. In Excel, absolute references have a $sign before each column and row designation. For example, B8 is a relative reference to cell B8. But $B, $8 is an absolute reference to cell B8. When you copy a formula that contains an absolute reference to a new location, the reference does not change. Okay, it will still reference back to the items in the formula that you already have. So, in cell B22, enter equals $B, $6. This formula contains an absolute reference to cell B6, which contains the monthly work study income for the school months. All right, we're going to accept it. All right, and then cell B23, we're going to enter $B, $7. This formula contains an absolute reference to cell B7, which contains the monthly scholarship income for the school months. In B24, we're going to, okay, wait, it's not referencing back to B7. Let's go up here to B7. No, the money's there. Oh, I didn't put the equal sign. Ah, see, your syntax has to be perfect, or it doesn't realize it's a formula. There we go. And then we need to put in B24 a reference back to B8. And that formula contains an absolute reference to cell B8, which contains the monthly restaurant income for the school months. In cell B25, we're going to do a sum. You'll put equals sum for B22 through B24. All right, the formula adds the monthly work study, scholarship, and restaurant incomes during the school months. Now, we're going to copy the formula in the range B22 through B25 and paste them into the range C22 through F25. So we're going to select the range B22 through B25. We're going to copy it, and then we're going to paste it into C22 through F25. Okay. And then we're also going to go over to J22 through M25. All right, February through May and September through December show the estimated income for the school months. Click each cell in the range C22 through F24 and verify that the copy formula contains the absolute references for B6, B7, and B8. So if we click through April's, you notice that it's still an absolute reference to B6, B7, and B8. The same thing over here. If we just pick at random, we can see that the columns are referencing back to those absolute references. They did not change when we copied them. Alright, instead of entering, make sure you save your changes here. Instead of entering absolute references in a cell by typing $signs, you can type just the column letter and row number and then press F4. The F4 function key changes the reference to an absolute reference for you. Okay, it will automatically add the $signs. Alright, so we're going to try it with the F4 key. In cell G22, type equals C6 and then press F4. Alright. You can see that when you press F4 it adds the $signs and makes an absolute reference. Okay. Alright. Now then, if we press F4 again, you notice that the reference changes to equals C $6. Alright, if we press it again, it changes to $C and then just 6. And then press it again, and it goes back to just C6. Okay? Press it one more time, F4, because we want the $C $6. Alright? Then press enter. Make it an absolute reference. In cell G23, we want to enter the reference to C7. So we put equals C7 F4, enter. And then we want to do C8 in G24. Alright. And then we want to sum it in G25. So if we hit auto sum, I've lost my mouse. It's not letting it work. Okay. We'll just enter it in this way. Equals sum of G22 through G24. Alright. This formula adds the work, study, scholarship, and restaurant income during the summer months to calculate a total of $4,250. Copy the range to the clipboard and paste it into the range H22 through I25. Well, again, my mouse is gone. Well, I've locked up. Alright, now then. So I want to copy this range and I want to paste it here. Alright. And then if I click in these, you can see there are the absolute references back to C6 through C8. Okay, make sure you save your changes at this point. Now, using mixed references. When you press the F4 key the second and third time in the previous activity, you create a cell references that contain both a relative reference and an absolute reference. This is called a mixed reference. In a mixed reference, the reference to the part of the reference with the $sign in front of it is absolute, and the reference to the part of the reference without the $sign in front of it is relative. For example, in the mixed reference A $2, the column reference is relative and the row reference is absolute. And in the mixed reference $A2, the column reference is absolute and the row reference is relative. When you copy and paste a formula with a mixed reference to a new location, the absolute portion of the cell reference remains fixed and the relative portion will shift. Okay, so let's look at this. Make the car savings plan worksheet active. In cell B5, enter the formula equals $A5 times B $4. Okay, this formula uses mixed references to calculate the amount of savings generated by saving $50 per month, which is cell B4, for 12 months, cell A5. The calculated value should be $600. The value is formatted as currency because the value in cell B4 is formatted as currency. Alright, copy the formula in cell B5. And then you need to paste the formula into the range B6 and B7. and the range G5 through G7. Alright, and paste it. Alright. Select the range B5 through G7. Copy it to the clipboard. Okay. Okay. We've already done that. Alright. I don't know why it's got directions in there again. Alright. It should look something like this once you have it. Alright. And then you want to copy it and paste it out over the entire span. So we'll paste it out here as well. Okay. So then hit the escape key to get out of that. Then when you click in here, you can see that your references change based on where you are. Excuse me. Because you use mixed references. Make sure you save it at this point. And it talks a little bit more about relative, absolute, and mixed references at the top of page 461 in your book. You might want to read through that little bullet where it talks about learn more. It's labeled learn more. Now remember after chapter 13 that a function is a named operation that replaces the action of an arithmetic expression. Every function follows a set of rules or syntax which specifies how this function should be written. Alright? So you have something like on page 461 where it says function, and in parentheses it's got argument 1, comma, argument 2, and so forth. Where function is the name of the function, and argument 1, argument 2, and so on are arguments which are numbers, text, or cell references used by the function to return a value. When you use multiple arguments within a function, they are separated by a comma. You have already worked with the sum function with one argument. For that function, the function name is sum, and the range reference that appears between the parentheses is the single argument. Not all functions have arguments. Some functions have optional arguments, which are not required for the function to return a value, but can be included to provide more control over how Excel calculates the value. If an optional argument is not included, Excel assumes a default value for it. This chapter shows optional arguments within square brackets along with the argument's default value. The sum function is one of the most commonly used math and trig functions. In figure 14-9 on page 462 in your book, it describes your functions there, your sum, your average, your count, and gives a description of them. I'll let you guys read that on your own, what those functions do. Some of them you should know what they do, like average adds up a group of numbers and divides by how many numbers you have to get the average. Sum adds up a group of numbers and that kind of thing. So you should know what a lot of these are already. Alright, so inserting a function using the insert dialog box. The insert function dialog box allows you to search for a function and organizes the function by category. To open the insert function dialog box, you click the insert function button to the left of the formula bar or in the function library groups on the formulas tab. Alright. Now after you select a function, the function arguments dialog box opens listing all the arguments associated with that function. In the function arguments dialog box, required arguments are in bold type, optional arguments are in normal type. And then you can add cell references to arguments, and you can type the cell reference into the argument box, or you can click the argument box in the dialog box and then click the cell range reference in the worksheet. So let's insert the sum function using the dialog box. So we're going to go to our budget worksheet. We're going to select cell B12. To the left of the formula bar, click the Insert Function button. It's the FX. The dialog box opens with the text in the search for a function box selected. Most recently used appears in the or select a category box. In the select a function box, click Sum. Okay, mine's already selected. The syntax and a description of the sum function should appear below the select a function box. Click OK. The function arguments dialog box has opened, listing all the arguments associated with the sum function, depending on the surrounding data. The number 1 box sometimes shows Excel's best guess of the range you want to sum. In this case, the insertion point is blinking in the number 1 box. Click any cell in the worksheet. So move this over and click any cell in the worksheet. The selected cell has a blinking border to indicate it is selected for the formula, and the cell reference appears in the number 1 box in the function arguments dialog box. Click cell B25. But do not release the mouse button. B25 appears in your number 1 dialog box. Now drag to select the range B25 through M25. Okay. As you drag, the dialog box collapses to show just its title bar so you can see what you're doing. Release the mouse button and the dialog box expands to its full size, and the range B25 through M25 appears as the value of the number 1 argument. The values of the cells in the range reference are listed to the right of the number 1 box, and the result of the function appears in the bottom left of the dialog box. Click OK. The formula is equal sum B25 through M25 is entered into cell E10 as shown in the formula bar. The calculated value is 39,849, which is the estimated total annual income, and appears in the cell. Okay, that's incorrect. It's not going to be entered into E10 because you had chosen cell B25. All right, let's try this again. We're going to choose, you're in cell B12. Okay, cell B12, we're going to enter our function. We're going to do sum. We're going to select our range down here of B25 through M25. Okay. Alright, and it's showing the formula results right here. Alright, so that's just incorrect. It's entering the formula into cell B12, not E10. And it gives you your sum. Alright, select cell B14. Select the insert function again. In the search for a function dialog box, type display the smallest number in a set of values. Okay. And then click go. The list of functions in the select a function box should change to match the phrase you typed. Alright. In the select a function box, click min if it is not already selected, and then click OK. Alright. Function argument dialog box appears with the arguments for the min function. The reference for the range is B12, B13. Is selected. With the range reference in the number 1 box, select the range B25 through M25. And then click OK. The dialog box closes and the formula is entered into B14, which displays 3011, the lowest estimated income for any month of the year. One of the categories available in the Insert Functions dialog box is the most recently used category. This category lists the most recently used functions sorted in order of recent use in the Select a Function box. So select cell B16 and then the Insert Function. The Insert Function dialog box appears with the most recently used category selected. The min function followed by the sum function appear at the top of the Select a Function box because they are the two functions you have most recently used. In the Select a Function box, click Sum and then click OK. In the worksheet, select the range B34 through M34. In the function argument dialog box, click OK. The formula is inserted into cell B16 and it will display 34,610, the total projected expenses for the upcoming year. Alright, and if we look at what we just added, it should look like this. Make sure you save all your changes. Alright, now typing functions in a cell. After you've become familiar with a function, it can be faster to type the function directly in a cell rather than using the Insert Function dialog box. So let's look at typing. Go to cell B13. We're going to type equals A. As you type a formula, a list with a function name starting with A opens. Type V. This list shows only those functions starting with AV. We want to click on average. Select the name of the function you want to use in the screen tip, and then press the tab key. The average function with its opening parens is inserted into cell B13, and the screen tip shows the syntax for the function. At this point, you can either type the range reference or select the range with your mouse. We want to select the range B25 through M25. And then close the parentheses and hit enter. The formula averages the sales and enters the value of 3320.75, which is the average estimated monthly income, into the cell. In B15, we want to type equal M A, so our match, we want max. Okay, Control Z, it didn't take it. Equals max, and we want the same range, B25 through M25, and hit enter, and it should return the value of $42.50, which is the highest estimated income for any month of the year. Alright, you want to enter the following functions using any method and using the range B34 through M34. And when you're finished, your screen should look like this, page 466, exhibit 14-16. So we're moving on to cell B15, or B17, excuse me. We want to do an average. Supposed to hit tab. Alright, and we want the range B34 through M34. And you want to do min. And we want the max in the last one there. Alright. Make sure you save it at that point. It should look something like that. That should be the numbers that got returned. Alright, to edit data used in a formula. Formulas provide the greatest flexibility for working with data that changes. By entering data values in cells and then referencing those cells and formulas, you can quickly change a value and immediately see the new formula results. So if we go to cell B6, you would change the monthly income earned from work studied during the school months. You would type in 685. And then accept it. Alright. Then if you look back at your values, such as your totals, you will see that they have been updated. Control Z, take it back. See, that's 3011 in B9. Alright. If I put the 685 back, it changes that total to 3171 in B9. And any other areas that used B6 is updated, as you can see in figure 14-17 on page 467. So you change your value in that one place, and all your formulas update that are using that cell reference. Alright. Autofill copies content. I think I'm going to break here. This is a rather long chapter, and we'll pick up with a 14-3 using autofill in the next video so that you guys don't get so bogged down in a video.